this is still a portion of something that hasn't closed yet, you know, and, you know, it's like, maybe this is a foreshadowing to get me ready, like to get my brain prepared. So when it does happen, it's like, well, I'm not surprised. I don't know. But
well, could I draw a parallel to the whole conversation, just because my perspective is just to listen and then to speak. But I feel like when you explained at the beginning that you were going down the wrong path, and then you spoke about a message that you had about your family being in danger, and you trying to rush them out of the house, but then you noticed you weren't doing anything to help. And they were taking their time to get going. And that tells me a few things. First of all, that you were definitely checked out at that point, because you weren't helping your family get prepared to save their own lives and to save your life. You sat there and watched because you were very selfish at the time. However, you were recognizing in the moment that you were at a critical point. And if you did not respond to this dream accordingly, which is get yourself on track so one day you would be an amazing father to that 3-year-old daughter of yours. Everything I say in life leads you to the moment where you will look back with gratitude that you were strong enough to keep going. And for you, I believe that's the case. You were there at a point and you were thinking to yourself,
You're
look,
right, man, I'm a survivor.
You're a survivor.
I get through it.
And I don't believe this was an end of the world situation. I think it was an end of your world situation, where if you did not get on the right track, you would have destroyed your soul. You would have destroyed every opportunity to be that father that you are today.
Man.
This is real talk.
Yeah, it is.
I'm glad you called,
that's
buddy.
That's incredible. Nobody's ever given me that perspective on it before. And I got to say, I appreciate you letting me take up a bunch of your time. I don't know if you've lost any viewers.
I don't care.
Chat. I try to keep it.
I love you guys, but honestly, like if someone needs assistance and they need to speak and let the universe speak back, like I'm here, like all of you. That's what I'm here for, is for us to take this thing to a level that you can't on your own. And I don't know where we're going to go with it. I just know that you spoke, and then that's what comes out. That's what I have to say about it, and I hope it helps.
Well, you're a hell of a guy, man. I'm really glad I tuned into your channel. Hello?
Kyle?
Mark.
Is that really you?
This is really me. This is blowing my mind right now, man. This is the first time I've ever seen your show. Like I said, Wages World sent me over here. I know what you're all about. You're all about positivity and light. I really need that in my life right now. And so I was like, let me just go over here and see what this guy's about, you know? And at first I was watching your video from like 22 hours ago. Then I got a notification about this one. Then I started watching it. I'm like, hey, you know, some people start talking about dreams. I'm like, I've had a dream, you know? And I said exactly what I said in the chat. You said exactly what you said in the chat. I tried calling. I see your number. I called immediately. You know what?
Here's the important thing. I'm glad you found the show. I'm going to quickly share a couple things while I got you, and then I want you to take off from there. So I have been live here for 643 days in a row. It's a positivity show. I just say it very simply. There are there are a million platforms out there where you can go and be a jerk and feel negative energy and feel that edge that people love for some reason. But here, if you dig deep and you bring something positive, you will be amazed at what you get back. And that's the bottom line. And if you are open to it, my friend, I'm here every day for the rest of my life. That's the other thing that baffles me. Like people that don't understand that they have free energy being thrown at them and positivity and literally love sent directly at them. And if they want to take it, they can just grab onto it. And I think about it this way, Kyle. It's like pure energy that you could stick your plug into for your phone and charge your phone and go. Plug yourself into this show, grab a piece of content, whatever you grab, you're going to find something that makes sense to you, and you move on with your day. And then please do one thing. Just affect a positive change that day on one person. That's all I ask you to do. And if you do that, we will change this world, my friend. Well, I'm glad to have you on the phone, buddy. And I like a couple things. I want to hear your story about the dream you had, but if you are dealing, because you said something early on that you said, you know, you need this right now. What do you need right now? Is there something a question I can answer for you, or something I can fill?
I just needed some, like I said, some positivity and some light. You know, I just need to check out your channel for a while. You know, like I said, I have been working nights. It's pretty solitary, and you know, how do I describe myself? I'm a loving and caring father, and I'm a supportive and compassionate husband. I'm also a superintendent in construction, and construction, you know, right after this whole thing went down, was deemed essential. And not only was it deemed essential, but the field that I'm in was deemed mission critical. So I haven't missed a beat. I've been out there, you could say it's the front lines if you want to. I haven't been battling COVID with patients, but, you know, construction has had a lot of COVID cases. Let's just say that. So it's been stressful. You know, there's not a lot to do other than try to kind of stay ahead of the beat and, you know, protect my family, but at the same time, you know, make them feel like everything's fine and secure. And, you know, we have a plan, but hey, let's live life. You know, we don't want to let this thing hold us down.
That's smart.
So, you know, it's easy to fall into rabbit holes. And every time I kind of find myself getting on the edge of one, I find a mechanism to pull me back, a lifeline, if you will. And your show tonight was that lifeline.
I'm glad to hear that,
and,
buddy.
Just checking it out. And, you know, like I said, I just mentioned one thing in chat, and I was like, there's like 30 people in here. Like, you know, maybe it's it, who cares? And you did. So, you know, I believe everything happens for a reason, and I'm talking to you right now. So I think what I needed is exactly what I'm getting.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and I do believe the same thing as you, that everything's meant to happen. I was meant to look up and see that in the chat because, honestly, there's so many messages that go through. I don't see them all. But I happened to see yours, and it intrigued me because I've had many dreams that weird me out, you know, and so yeah. I instantly related to that, and I didn't know if you were a brand new listener and if you were of the show.
Brand spanking new.
That makes me very happy.
Right out of the womb.
That makes me very happy. Well, you know what? Look, just so you know, and you get that obviously, like every single one of you are important to me. Like there's not one of you that I hope that you all know how much I love each and every one of you, because I've been here for 643 days broadcasting to zero, between
Incredible.
0 and 6 people. And I was still killing it every night because those 6 people meant the world to me. So just keep yourselves in the same company, except now we're just a growing family, and together we build light and we share it. And I'll tell you one thing that I want you to keep in mind, Kyle. This is something because you're new to the show. So everybody's trying to find happiness, and you seem to have an extremely stressful work lifestyle. You're dealing with less family time, more time by yourself, and you're trying to consume content, and most of it's negative, let's be honest. So this program hopefully will level you out. But one thing I want you to understand is, as far as happiness is concerned, I'm making t-shirts to say this because this is my thing. Forget about being 100% happy. Just try to get to 51%. And the reason I say that is it's like being the CEO of a company. You just want to have control of your happiness. And if you could have control of your happiness, you could then be 100% happy. But you don't have to strive for 100%. Just strive for 51. And guess what that does, Kyle? It makes me go, whew. When I start thinking about trying to attain happiness, instead of being like, geez, I got to be all happy. There's nobody who's all happy. And I'm as close as it gets to trying to be as happy as possible all the time. But life has its ups and downs on a daily basis. And honestly, I exert so much energy for this world on a daily basis that I have a lot of down during the day. I'm trying to recharge before the night. I'm tired. I mean, you just have to figure out how to get to 51 and you will be happy all the time. I hope that makes sense.
That's pretty incredible advice. I appreciate that.
What we're here to do is level each other up. And even if the phone call today makes you feel lighter than you did before the call, and you could say, I got one piece of wisdom to take, which to me is the 51% rule. Don't forget that one. And that should always guide you.
And I know this is a show about positivity and light, but this was just a dream that I had. So I'm not saying this is anything that's going to happen. I'm not saying I can see the future or anything like that, but it is just kind of weird how it correlates to, you know, our present moment and whatnot. So anyway, I'm a storyteller. I'm sure you guys gathered that already. Here we go. So the dream starts. I kind of open my eyes and I'm in a kitchen, and it's an open layout, an open floor plan. And you're a realtor. It's kind of crazy I'm talking to you about this because it involves houses and stuff. It's an open floor plan. You know, there's a beautiful island in the kitchen area. It's got like granite on the top. It's like white cabinets, you know, kind of whitewash look. Slate floors, you know, I remember that. So everything was kind of black and white, except for, you know, the color that everybody was bringing to the room and the color that was coming in from the windows. So this is 15 years ago, so my wife and kids, they're not in the picture yet. It's just me with my family. And as I said, like, you know, at this time of my life, it was kind of, there was some turmoil I was going through. I was going through some turbulence. This was a very positive note that the dream began on, because we're all having a good time. We're all just kind of standing around the island, and you know, I'm kind of just floating amongst the people, you know, and I've got a smile on my face. I'm feeling good. I'm enjoying the conversation, and everybody's having a good time. And everybody but one person, I look over, and it's my brother-in-law. And my brother-in-law is staring out this bay window. And and he's got it like a real gaze on something. And I'm like, what is he looking at? You know, and like, I'm like, hey, David, you know, trying to get him involved, pull him back into it. And this is kind of weird. It's not unusual that my brother-in-law would be kind of, you know, checked out. Like he kind of sits on the sidelines every now and then. Great dude, love him, would be there for him anytime. Had nothing to say. You know, that's just his thing. Every now and then he kind of sits on the sidelines. So initially I'm like, you know, this isn't weird, but when I see his gaze, I'm like, huh, you know, he's really distracted by something. So obviously I can't get his attention. I walk over to him and I look at him. I'm standing next to him. He's on my right. And I look at his gaze and I kind of follow the trajectory of his gaze. And I look, and as soon as my eyes lock onto what he's locking onto, I see what's like a fireball with like a smoke trail coming behind it, you know, and it comes down and it hits the water, like, but it's miles away, you know, it's miles away. It's not like it's right in front of us. And this mushroom cloud starts to kind of develop, and I can tell like it's at least 50 miles away. So I look at David, you know, and I have this thought in the dream. I'm like, dude, we need to get out of here. And he kind of looks at me and telepathically says to himself, yeah, we do. And next thing you know, I'm in my house that my parents live in now, or their house, I guess. They live in their house, and I'm standing at the kitchen sink, right? And I'm looking out the window above their kitchen sink. But what's weird about this is it was their house that they live in now, which is in a different part of the state. It was like I was at a house that I used to live in, but it was their house that they currently live in, you know? And I'm looking out the back window and I see these things, and there's a mountain that you can look at out the back of my parents' house. And there's like this ball thing on top. It's not a water tower. Everybody speculates as to what it is, but nobody can go up there. This ball thing, and there's some like, you know, cell antennas and some radio antennas across the top of this mountain. I had never seen this mountain before, you know, but in my dream, I see this mountain out the back of the house that I'm standing in, and I see these like fireballs coming down, these clouds coming up, and I run out into the garage where my dad's getting ready to go. Like he's loading up our 95 Suburban at this point. I'm like, Dad, we have to go right now. He's like, just give me a minute. And I'm like, okay, but you know, you really need to hurry up because we got to go. And normally I would be helping my dad, but for some reason in the dream I wasn't helping my dad, which was just out of the ordinary. But I kind of run down the block because I'm going to warn some other people. And I'm like, hey, you know, I get down there and I realize everybody's kind of watching. It's like a drive-in movie. There's a big screen at the end of this cul-de-sac. Everybody's kind of sitting down and watching. And I don't remember what movie it was, but they're sitting there watching it. And I was going to alert them, like, guys, we need to go. And I decided not to in my dream. I'm like, you know what? They're sitting there. They're happy. You know, they're watching this movie. This is what they want to be doing. I'm not going to ruin that, you know? And right as I say that, snow starts falling. But it's like 72 degrees out. It's like the perfect temperature where you don't feel the temperature outside, you know? And it starts snowing. I look up, and the clouds, you know, sky's kind of like a grayish white. And I get this feeling come over me. I'm like, oh my gosh, we have got to go. And I run back up the street. You know, I go back into the garage. I'm like, Dad, we've got to go. We've got to go now. And he's like, I know, I'm getting out. I was like, no, you don't understand. We got to go now. Get everybody in the car now. And he's like, all right, gosh. We load everybody in the car. We back out of the driveway. And I guess you could say I fell asleep in my dream. I lost consciousness, if you will. But I was awoken in the back of the Suburban by this cold feeling going in my nose, right? And I could smell the smell. It was a smell of death. I hate to say it, but it was a smell of death. And it wakes me up in the Suburban, right? And this is in my dream still. So this is like Inception kind of stuff, you know? And I wake up and I'm like, you know, looking around, like, where are we? I see my dad's driving. My mom's in the passenger seat, but I can tell she's really sad and distraught about something. My sister's sitting next to me. She just looks shocked, you know. My brother's just sitting in front of me, and, you know, there's nothing really going on with them. They're just kind of like, you know, chilling, cruising right along. And I look out the windows, and I realize we're kind of on a mountainside. We're on a roadway that's paved on the side of a mountain. And everything is just blasted down the mountain. You know, trees, plant life, whatever. It is just mowed down. It's completely flat. I kind of see some steam. You know, like you would think you'd feel heat is what I was thinking in my dream, but I felt cold. And it was like so kind of rattling in that moment that that's when I woke up. And I was like, holy crap. So, you know, it was a really crazy dream. I'm like, wow, this is nuts. And I don't think much of it, but I'm like, my whole family was in it. That's unusual. I don't usually dream about my whole family together. You know, usually one person or two people, whatever, but not my whole family. But again,
could I just be
kind of wrap it up.
Yeah.
How I know it was my parents' house. So like I said, I don't live with my parents at this point, and I get this random call from my mom and dad, or from my mom. And like I said, I'm not going on the best path, so I'm not really in touch with my parents that much. And my mom just calls me out of the blue, and she's like, "Hey." And I'm like, "Hey." And she's like, "What are you doing today?" And I'm like, "I'm actually off today." And she was like, "Oh, cool. Well, your dad and I are going to go look at this house. And I was just wondering if you wanted to come along and look at it with us." And I was like, "Well, why do you want me to come along? Like I'm not going to live there. So, what does my opinion matter?" And she's like, "Well, it does matter. And, it's got potential to be home, so I just want you to come look at it." And I'm like, "Okay." It was really random. I'm like, "That's so weird. Why my mom would want me to do that?" And anyway, so I agree, and I think they came and picked me up, and we get out to this house. And as soon as I get into the driveway, I'm like, this place is familiar. And I had delivered pizzas in the area. So I was like, maybe I delivered pizzas here. And I just remember pulling up in this driveway, but I was like, as we creep up this driveway, I'm like, no, that's not it, because I can't put myself behind the steering wheel pulling up this driveway, in my memory. I'm like, that can't be what it is. So I'm like, anyway, whatever. It's no big deal. Let's go take a look at the inside. We go through the garage, and I go into the garage door and walk into the kitchen. And I kid you not, when I was walking past the window above the kitchen sink, and I look out the window, I'm like, I feel like I've been here before. I feel like I've been at this sink before. I was like, if I had been at this house because I was a pizza guy, I wouldn't be at the sink looking out the window. That'd be weird, because there'd be something awkward going on if I was just a pizza guy at that point, So we wanted the house. We tore the house, and everything's familiar to me. I know where we're going. I know what we're about to walk into. Nothing's a surprise. And I'm like, this is weird, This is very weird.
Hey, can I blow your mind and relax you all at the same time?
What's that?
Can I blow your mind and relax you all at the same time?
Yeah, just one more 20 seconds.
Yeah. Finish up.
So I'm like looking around. I'm like, wow, this place is really familiar. And I walk out into the driveway, and I was about to say I'm a smoker. Admittedly, I hate that I am, but I am. And I go to smoke a cigarette because I'm like, this, I'm sort of rattled by this, how familiar this place is. I'm like, I'm gonna smoke a cigarette. Think about it. I look to the right, and sure enough, behind my parents' house is that mountain range that I saw. That identifying factor, that ball thing. You don't see this ball thing everywhere. You know what I mean? You see water towers and stuff, but you don't see this thing. You don't see the 3 towers, off to the right, and the way that they're spaced and all that, and the lights on the mountain from the houses. Like it was so unique to that, and that's where I literally dropped my cigarette and my jaw at the same time, and I'm like, holy crap! Like this all makes sense. This is the place for my dream. That's why this place feels so familiar to me. So I spark up my cig. I'm like, I can't tell my parents this. My mom wants to move into this house. Like, it's great. She wants to have horses and all. It's got 10 acres, so it's got all this land, and she wants all this stuff.
You said it's a different part of the state,
she wanted
too?
me to come along. Huh?
This was a different part of the state? It wasn't the town?
No. This is the same state, and this is 30 minutes away from where actually, it wasn't even that. It was 15 minutes away from where I live currently. But I'd never been to this location before. You don't recall ever seeing that ball weird thing. You don't ever recall seeing those triple buildings at any point ever. So I walk out into the driveway, right? I look to the right, and I see this ball thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, why do I know that? And I'm a very analytical person. I think you could probably pick that up by this point. Very detail oriented. So I start going back to my memory bank because this thing's so unique. I'm like, where do I know that from? And all of a sudden it was just wham, it came with a flash of light, wow. Crazy that you're talking about light and energy. It hit me like a flash of light. This is where I was standing when I jumped from being at the beach with my family to boom, we're in the house getting ready to leave. Wow. This is the house that I was standing in when we were getting ready to leave.
And how old, how long ago was that dream? 15 years?
That was about 15 years ago. Yeah. And my parents moved into that. And so I was about to say, my mom comes out into the driveway, my mom and I, we can sense each other, she, especially me, I was a mama's boy when I was coming up. It's just how it is. But she comes out in the driveway and she's like, hey, you all right? I'm like, yeah, I'm cool. Cause I don't want to tell her about my dream that I had. She wants me to come along and she wants to get this house. I don't crap on her dream. But for some reason, I was like, she's like, what do you think? And I was like, I gotta tell you, Mom, I'm a little uneasy. And she's like, why? I was like, well, I can explain it to you later, but the long story short is I've had a dream about this place before. It wasn't that good of a dream, and
she's like, we're buying it.
Yeah. You would think, but she kind of got like a look on her face that she heard me, you know what I mean? But she was still going to do what she was going to do.
Yeah.
And they've been in that, and what's crazy, like, been through some turmoil with my family and all that. They'd like just finished their basement, and added like an extra, 700, 800 square feet to the house, and made it like another living facility, if you will. And it's just crazy how long they've been there, and again, every time I've had like a foreshadowing dream, it's come and gone. It's open and it's closed already. This is the one thing that hasn't closed yet. And I don't know what it means, and again, I have faith. I believe in God, I trust in God. My daughter's special, and that means I'm special. I was put on this earth to be her father, you know what I mean? And to raise her to be a great person, a human being. She's going to accomplish great things. That's like,
well, so are
I
you,
believe
buddy.
in all that.
Listen.
But at the same token, it's like, this is still a portion of something that hasn't closed yet, and it's like, maybe this is foreshadowing to get me ready, like to get my brain prepared. So when it does happen, it's like, well, I'm not surprised. I don't know. But
well, could I draw a parallel to the whole conversation, just because my perspective is just to listen and then to speak. But I feel like when you explained at the beginning that you were going down the wrong path, and then you spoke about a message that you had about your family being in danger, and you trying to rush them out of the house, but then you noticed you weren't doing anything to help, and they were taking their time to get going. And that tells me a few things. First of all, that you were definitely checked out at that point, because you weren't helping your family get prepared to save their own lives and to save your life. You sat there and watched because you were very selfish at the time. However, you were recognizing in the moment that you were at a critical point. And if you did not respond to this dream accordingly, which is get yourself on track so one day you would be an amazing father to that 3-year-old daughter of yours. Everything I say in life leads you to the moment where you will look back with gratitude that you were strong enough to keep going. And for you, I believe that's the case. You were there at a point and you were thinking to yourself,
you're
look,
right, man, I'm a survivor.
You're a survivor.
I get through it.
And I don't believe this was an end of the world situation. I think it was an end of your world situation, where if you did not get on the right track, you would have destroyed your soul. You would have destroyed every opportunity to be that father that you are today.
Man.
This is real talk.
Yeah, it is.